intern. So please, Amanda, go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor. So I will, and I'll also get Kelsey to turn on her video if she can. And so I would like to introduce to all of council tonight, Kelsey Hopkins. And she is a recent graduate from the Haskayne School of Business with the U of C, with a Bachelor of Commerce major in finance. And Kelsey started with us on just over 2 weeks ago now, I believe. And she jumped right in with the LGAA conference. And so that was a good kind of welcome for her to our organization and municipal government. So like I've said before, when we were kind of announcing the partnership after we had hired Kelsey, we find that she's a go-getter. She fits in really well with our organization, and what stands out about her interview is how she said she got ready for it, which she actually took a drive out to Didsbury to experience it and check out some of the capital budget sites. So that we were really impressed by that. And so far, just getting to know Kelsey, although it's a little bit abnormal with our situation here, of course, due to COVID, but we're super excited to welcome Kelsey, and hopefully eventually we're all able to meet Kelsey in person, all the councilors, of course. So welcome.
Thanks, Amanda. And I could put Kelsey on the spot and see if she has anything to say, but
yeah, sorry. I just want to say thank you so much for that, Amanda. That was really sweet. And I'm really looking forward to getting to know all of you better and to work closely with you guys this year. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelsey, and welcome again on behalf of council. And this is part of the Alberta Community Partnership Grant, and so we're certainly happy to have a grant that helps us with adding to the manpower and the talent pool in our municipality. But we're very happy that you're a successful applicant, and congratulations on that. And I have had the pleasure of meeting Kelsey, so we hope you enjoy your year here. And if you do stay a second year, I just give that advice to negotiate for a window. Okay, I recently was a guest at the official launch of the release of the CD Don't Look Back. On behalf of council, it was truly a privilege to be asked to be part of the event. And what a special event and day it was for the songwriters. There's 2 surviving songwriters, Brenda Jones and Val Leopold. And sadly, 3 of the songwriters have passed. That's Victoria Bartram, Paul Harrison, Noella Paul. We all listened to the official recording by Kelly Calden, a local songwriter and musician, and accompanied by a flutist. It was just beautiful, what they put together. The quote by one of the songwriters is, "It brought us all together, and we hope that the world will always hear this song and feel a lot better because everyone has felt alone in their lifetime." The group wanted their song to inspire young and old and make them feel better and to bring joy to those who have a chance to hear it. This group has left a legacy that will be appreciated for generations to come. And Didsbury is proud to be home to this song and proud of the group who have shared this song with our town, our region, and really with our world. When everyone's aware that Barbara Streisand actually made some comments on it, they wanted her to sing it. I wouldn't normally do this, but this is for an amazing group and a worthy cause. You can purchase your CD by making a donation to the Rosebud Health Foundation. And they'll send you your CD once your donation is received, and just leon.regner@ahs.ca. We did celebrate the accomplishments with the artists and their support team, family, and friends. It's truly made an impact in their efforts to bring joy to people and make them feel better and to sing. So before we adopt the agenda, I just have some reminders and information so as to ensure this and future meetings run in as orderly fashion as possible. And At our April 27th meeting, in one particular agenda item, 7.5, the level of service budget recommendations, there were interruptions, council members raising their voices, council members and administration not raising hands before speaking. It was very energized and somewhat chaotic discussion. I responded to the raised voices, the interruptions, and the lack of order in a way that a chair of a meeting shouldn't respond. I don't want to be put in that situation again, and I won't be put in that situation again. We all have the responsibility to conduct ourselves in a respectful manner by not raising voices and or interrupting others. At one point during that agenda item, I chose to not let our CAO speak until all council had spoken. This could have been interpreted to being disrespectful to our CAO. I want to say to Ethan and to our administrative team that it was not my intent to show any respect to you, Ethan. I do trust that our entire administrative team and personnel know that I respect each and every one of you, and that I admire and applaud the work you do every day for our municipality and citizens when you come to work. There are times when immediate responses are not always as they should be, and please know that I will not let that happen again. Going forward, I ask that we use hands in the participant box, monitor the box for those wishing to speak, and I'll endeavor to ensure that council and administration speak in the orders their hands go up. Having said that, I'd like all council members and administration to just try their hands so that you know where it is and that I'll see it. Okay, everybody got theirs up, I believe. So we're all familiar with that hand raising. I believe that'll help to make sure that no one's missed and that opportunities there, and that Councillor Moore doesn't have to make sure I know whose hand I missed. I'm going to save you some work, Councillor Moore. So can I please have a motion now to accept the agenda, and I believe it's as amended. Unless, Ethan, do you have any other amendments or any other council member?
No, and thank you for that, Mayor. Well received.
Okay, so I'll have a motion to accept as amended because we're adding item 7.1 and bumping the rest down. So we'll have a 7.6 or 7 as well. So we're all going to get used to the box tonight. Councillor Windsor has got his hand up.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'll move that we accept the agenda as amended. And my understanding, this amendment was out as of 4:30, and I haven't had a chance to really review the revisions. Could we take a couple of minutes just to review those before we proceed?
If I could, I think the revision is the same that you've seen regarding rates and fees. Ethan, can you respond to that?
Yeah, it's very similar information that we've just framed slightly differently, but it's the gist of the information is the same that was sent out last night in the evening.
I think the numbers, I believe the numbers are the same, so the options are the same from what I saw. Okay. Then, I mean, during that, I certainly won't call the motion until everybody's had a chance to have a thorough understanding what they're voting on. So we have a motion to accept the agenda as amended. And again, your hands can go up in the box. I gotta find my hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't think my order is very good in the boxes, so can you just leave your hands up, please? I have Mayor Hunter, Mayor Windsor, Mayor Moore, Mayor Crothers, Mayor Crothers. They're all mayors tonight, that's what I'm calling you. agenda is amended. So we have 4 in favor, so opposed. I guess those take your hands down if you're.
Madam Mayor, I hate to interrupt, but I don't know where this hand is I'm supposed to have on my computer.
Okay, it's in your reactions. If you go on the bottom of your screen, there's reactions. I'm sorry, I thought you put your when we did the trial run. So if you go down and hover in the bottom of the black screen, there's a reactions. And then in the reactions, there's a raised hand.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you. I found it.
Thank you.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I don't see that on mine. And when I tried it, it knocked me right out and I had to rejoin the meeting. So I don't know where I'm going to get it here.
So you're on your phone?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I guess.
I'll try this now and see if that works.
Okay.
Did
Please.
that work? Did that work?
I'm just checking here.
Okay.
Yes, I see your hand now. Thank you. And Councillor Engel and Councillor Bowmiller. So that was quite a relief that we can't start out with people being opposed to the agenda. So it was passed unanimously. Thank you. Yes. So Councillor Engel, I see your hand. We did vote on that item and now we have.
Yeah, no, the issue I had is when you were asking for hands to raise, I saw Ethan's go up. I thought he had a question and that you were lining people up, so I didn't vote.
We'll get through this.
I was in favor of the
agenda.
So.
Thank you. Okay. So as has happened in the past, when councillors want to speak, I've asked them to let me know in advance. So Councillor Moore has asked to speak during our delegation presentation section, which Ethan and I certainly discussed that and we're happy to extend the opportunity. So I believe Councillor Moore wants to talk about social media. So please go ahead, Councillor Moore.
Thank you. Our mayor and CAO have taken the brunt of the predominantly tirades, complaints, blame, and endless nitpicking communications aimed at council and the town, and have responded appropriately and with remarkable patience. All 7 councillors are talented, strong individuals who have been successful in their own right and who represent a wide range of demographics and views and care deeply about Didsbury. We now have a strong, talented, wise CAO whose counsel and guidance is updating and streamlining processes for council and administration. A strong council with a strong CAO is ideal for Didsbury's success, but is challenging. Virtual meetings are essential, but lack the synergy and nonverbal communication with residents that enhances it, and the personal interaction that enhances our council and administration's teamwork. I know that a majority of council wants to ensure that other councillors and our CAO and staff, as well as residents, are treated with, heard, and spoken about with the utmost respect. Disparaging critical tirades or parroting negativity or repostings on the internet, social media, email, and elsewhere does no one any good and can be truly harmful to those being attacked. Why choose to be mean and judgmental when being kind and constructive might actually accomplish something? Expressing strong views or campaigning for elections, since that seems to be underway, should be about positive ideas, vision for the future, and how you can help. There are many ways to actually contribute. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. We now have item 4, adoption of the minutes, and I just have a slight amendment. So as amended, it's just a typo, and I don't even know if we want to amend it or if I can just say it's a typo. But I'll have a motion. Amanda, would you mind putting Councillor Baswick, changing his name to Councillor Baswick, so in the participant box? And if anyone would like to make motion to accept the minutes as amended. Councillor Crothers. Oh, you didn't put your hand up in the box, but I'll let you away with that one. If we could just keep practicing or trying that, I think it's really good process and it doesn't miss anybody that way. There's a lot of people in our meetings. We're a very interesting council, happily. I'm happy to see so many people here.
As requested, Madam Mayor, I move we adopt the minutes of this meeting as amended, or the April 27th meeting as amended.
Thank you, Councillor Crothers. And the amendment is just item 211-21. It just says meeting twice, and we approved the meeting of the regular council meeting. And it is just a typo and a check, but that's what happens when us language specialists cover meetings and see double meeting words. So it's pretty simple. And I say that because that's what I do for a living, another living. Councillor, or any other comments on that? Any on the minutes? Any? Okay, I will call the vote then. All in favor as amended. Oh, hands up in the box. This will take us a little more time, but I'm happy to make 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Keep them up. I have lost. Councillor Windsor, I don't have his up. Did you vote, did you vote, Councillor Windsor? There. And now we've got us all in a row, so it'll be easier. That is carried. Thank you. All right, we have item 7.1, which is the utility. Let me find mine. Utility charge calculation item that was. We've all seen it, and now it's here in the public agenda for discussion. And I believe we should have some discussion first before a motion, because there's a. I'll let Amanda, if you'd like to speak to this, and you see you put a reserve for 250 and for 500 for some comparisons for what water and wastewater fees, how they would be offset. So go ahead. And then, I'm sorry, Ethan, I should go through Ethan. Ethan, you can decide who presents this, because you are the CAO.
Sure, no, that's fine, Mayor. I just wanted, just before Amanda, with this item, it might help. We kind of plan this item as a bit of a facilitated discussion to help, and Amanda will kind of guide council through this, if that's okay with you, Madam Mayor.
That's great. Thank you. I kind of jumped the gun there.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Go ahead, Amanda.
Thanks, Mayor. So tonight, what I'll do is just walk you through the attachment to the RFD. And I just see a couple people in the waiting room, so I'll let them in. So actually what I want to address first is what was requested by council motion on April 27th. And it was resolution 204-21. This is number 4 of the attachment. And this is just showing the impact of the reserve transfers on the current year water rates. So basically, so in the first column, that's what's included in the budget right now as we speak. And what we've included is a $500,000 water reserve transfer specifically for a capital project, being the water reservoir. And we took that money for the most part out of the wastewater transfer. So we dropped down the capital portion of the reserve for wastewater, just this year's transfer, to zero. It was $455,000. So we topped it up, and you may remember me saying that at the budget presentation. So what it does is, because the fixed fee takes into account things like reserve transfers and debt payments, it increases that water fixed fee to $28.50 a month, but it also drops down the wastewater fixed fee to $9.10. So you might remember right now our water fixed fee every month is $14 and our wastewater is $15 a month. So it kind of, because before there was a larger wastewater reserve transfer, that was higher than in this current budget. If we didn't include the water reserve transfer, the water fixed fee would drop down to $8.90 a month per customer. And then I gave you an example. If we included half of it, so $250,000 worth, it would be about $18.65 a month. And so realistically, council can change the fees by changing the budget, because as you know, the framework that's been set out for fees now is very specific. So the only way really that council has an impact on the fees, because they're a set calculation based on our users and our consumption, is by changing the budget. So one area, if the fees aren't kind of what you like right now, you can adjust them by adjusting the reserve transfer. And so what that would do is limit future capital transactions, but today it would reduce the fees for the customers. And so you can kind of do any combination of things. Most people who have water accounts also have wastewater accounts. So you typically like a reduction in the water, or a reduction in the wastewater fee and an increase in the water fee would somewhat cancel each other out. So I do want to pause there and just ask if there's any questions.
Okay. Are there any questions from council? Councillor Windsor, I see your hand.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'll remove my hand now. Mayor Hunter, it seems to me that through the policy that council approved with regard to water and wastewater, that the variable fee was supposed to be split into two separate entities. One was consumption and one was infrastructure. And I'm not seeing that on the tables here and how that relates to the numbers that are presented. So I'm wondering if we could get an explanation as to where that went with the two variable fees.
Ethan, do you want to keep asking that, or just would you like to respond first? And I'll let you respond first and then defer.
Yeah, I'll defer that to Amanda.
Okay.
Sure, thanks, Ethan. And I agree, Councillor Windsor. Within that one variable fee, it's actually two fees, the distribution and the consumption, and I can give you those. It's just for the matter of simplicity, I tried to, because we didn't have a comparable for those numbers since the current fee is only one variable rate, so I just added them together. But I can definitely split it out. Like it will be split out on the final bylaw for sure.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
No, thank you, Mayor Hunter. I just subsequent to that, can we then assume that since the variable fee right now is $2.50, that the other portion, the infrastructure portion, would be the 360 minus 250 or $1.10. Could we make that assumption, Amanda, or would that not be accurate?
No, that's not accurate. Sorry, Ethan, through Ethan.
You want to just, Amanda, to keep answering that until I see your hand up? Because Councillor Moore has a question now too.
Actually, it's not so much a question as I think a lot of people are maybe in the situation like me where I don't believe unless I have a lot of company, which I haven't done in the last 2 years, I don't use 12 cubic meters. It's more like 4. I just wanted to point out that in number 3, the monthly fee, if you use 4 meters, turns out to be $76.50, which is about what I pay now, just in case somebody is a lower user of water like I am.
Are there any other questions? I have one, Amanda, does this include the increase that the commission is going to be assessing or has assessed?
Yes. As of April 1st, the Water Commission increased their fee by 5 cents a cubic meter. And that is calculated here in the water consumption cost. So we budget for our first 3 months, it was $1.70. And now it's $1.75, I believe, from the commission. Yeah. So that's accounted for. And so if I can, do you mind if I explain the other kind of sections of this document?
Sure, go ahead.
Well, if we go back to number 1, in section chart number 1, in the yellow column, these are the fees that we've calculated over a 12-month period. So assuming the budget does hit a 12-month period. So to make up the revenues that we require, fees for each of solid waste, water, and wastewater are presented there. So solid waste would see a reduction of $3.55 to $19.50 a month. And that's a combination of better contract rates, which occurred when we went out to RFP this year. And then also a reduction at the Waste Commission itself for the municipality. And then the third thing that's creating that is that we've budgeted to bring in some of our waste reserves. We've collected a lot of reserves that we don't anticipate needing. There's no capital investment in solid waste. So what I proposed this year was to start bringing those into revenue to offset for the users of the solid waste system a portion of their fee. And so right now I've budgeted about $48,000 to offset user fees for solid waste. And then with the water fixed fee, so this is the infrastructure fee, which is a monthly fixed fee. And then the 2 variable fees are the consumption and the distribution fees. So the infrastructure fee is monthly fixed, and it's calculated based on the number of users of the system. And so it's that $28.50. So that is an increase. But again, that's because we're collecting reserves specifically for the water reservoir project. The water variable fee, that's a combination of, as Councillor Windsor was saying, of the distribution fee and the consumption fee. So those 2 things total $360, and that's per cubic meter that's consumed. So if you're using 4 cubic meters, like Councillor Moore mentioned that she is, you would pay less. You would pay 4 times 360, which is about, is that 12 something. Oh, 1440, but then you'd also pay the fixed fee of $28.50 a month, and that would be your water bill. And then that of course is an increase from last year. But then when we're looking at the wastewater fees, we're seeing a reduction to $9.10 a month for wastewater and for the infrastructure fee. And then the variable fee is the distribution, and that's based on the water consumption as well, and that's only $1.10. So both of those are seeing a reduction from last year. And then if you total that up, so assuming somebody uses all three of those utilities and a 12 cubic meter consumption a month, they would pay about $113.50, which is an increase from what they're currently paying by about $8 a month. So moving on from that, so that is calculated, this is where it's a little bit confusing based on our timing. So that's calculated on a 12-month period, which the budget is a 12-month period. However, we've collected essentially the incorrect fees according to our budget for, it was been 4 months. I'm anticipating the change to occur June 1st, which would be billed to customers in July. And so 5 months, basically, we've charged these fees that for water are too low and solid waste and wastewater are too high. And so that causes a problem. So if we looked at it for the next 7 months, what you would have to collect to break even in those departments, you're looking at chart number 3, and you'll see solid waste and wastewater are pushed down even further, and water is pushed up even further. And so when we're looking at that, it really causes this disparity from the current year. But then when we hit January 1st of 2022, it's going to be a correction back the other way to that middle ground. So this is going to be really confusing, I believe, for our users and also difficult to budget for. So it's not ideal to go sharply, change your fee sharply one way and then adjust 7 months later. So what I'm suggesting is to do the fees that we've calculated there in chart number 1, and then make the adjustment through the reserve accounts again. So like we were doing, what we had to do in 2020 to have each department break even. And then going forward, what I hope to do is set these fees earlier. So have the utility budgets looked at ahead of the first of the year, and then set the fees for the year ready for January 1st, 2022. So we don't have these issues going forward. And there's also even an opportunity there to set the budget kind of for a 3-year period and set the fees for a 3-year period as well. So you kind of know people can budget for it and they can look ahead to what's to come. So hopefully that was helpful, and I can take questions if there are any, Mayor Hunter.
Other questions? Councillor Moore left. When I calculate this too, and I like reserves, but I also like, and I know it's a kind of a exchange with water or with wastewater, but when I look at the 250 transfer to reserves, and I see that as being more palatable to me, that we could do that for 2 years to get 500. And I've said before, it'd been nice to have the reserves, over time back to 2006, but it hasn't happened that way. But if we did the 250 wastewater or water water transfer to reserves, it wouldn't impact it would actually save people $2. And I do know that with our assessments on our property taxes, we do see some balancing there too. And with assessments down in the town, our tax rate's gonna, see some changes to our residents and what they're paying. So I'm all for always seeing if we can level this out. Look at it as with a 2-year view, or even that 3-year mirror that you were talking about, Amanda. And if we have 3 years at 250, the impacts aren't. And I know it's only $8, but when we always say only $8 for everything, it does add up to me. And I do believe we are in another challenging pandemic year, and we have to look through at these things through a COVID lens and how the world were responding to our budgets and costs. So I would like to suggest that we do the 250, which is the 1865, and that comes up to about $1.92 to the good to our users, and that's always depending on consumption, of course. But I see that as something I could vote for, and I think it's good long-term planning as well. So, Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. Through you, if I may ask Amanda, we did a correction to the 2020 water reserve, or out of the wastewater reserve. And I'm wondering if we were to go with this scenario 1, or the table under 1 with the charges there, if the correction at the end of the year would also come out of the wastewater reserve, or if it would be coming out of the water reserve.
So I would suggest that we see what consumption does in the year, because or kind of where we end up, preferably like how the bylaws laid out, the water department should pay for it. But in this situation, we've almost just charged the wrong fees for a few months. And what I'm suggesting is you just take the overage and revenue from wastewater for the first couple months and apply it to the underage. That's not the under collected revenue for water to make it up. The solid waste is pretty easy because we can just adjust the reserve transfer, that the revenue being brought in, and use it in future years if we needed to.
So would anyone like to make that motion to adjust the reserve to 250,000? And when reviewing, look at the long-term or a 3-year plan to do, that's with that in mind, but 250 this year, and that wouldn't have an impact substantial based on the numbers that Amanda has in front of us, the 12 cubic. Councillor Windsor, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I was going to make a comment about that. So rather than the comment, I will make the motion that we adjust the budget to reflect a $250,000 transfer to the water reserve for the 2021 budget.
Okay. And so in where the water fixed fee is at $828.50 and option 1, you just add 1865 there instead, and then the numbers would calculate out as a result. Are there any other comments on that? Amanda, you have something else to say?
Thanks. I was just wondering if Councillor Windsor would adjust his motion to somehow approve the fees and get them implemented into the utility bylaw for the next meeting.
Can we adjust this first and then make a second motion?
Oh, of course.
That would make sense, I think, to me. So no any more comments. We have a motion to adjust budget line on water utility to a 250,000 reserve transfer instead of 500. So if there are no more comments, Councillor Windsor, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I do want to make a comment about this a little bit, in that I don't think that we need to burden our current taxpayers with the whole big slosh of funding the new water reservoir. I think that this is going to benefit the community for an extended period of time, and I think that because of that, it would almost be reasonable to expect that a debenture would be taken out to pay for the balance of that project at the time when we don't have enough in the reserve to cover it, but at least it would be being paid by the people who are using it over an extended period of time.
Okay, any other comments? We have a motion on the floor. I will call the vote. Everybody get your reactions ready. All in favor? Five. It's interesting how I lose one somehow. It drops down. Councillor Ingle hasn't voted. So I have 6 in favor. Is there anyone opposed? Take your hands down if I'll let everybody lower their hand first, and then opposed. I only saw one hand not up, and that was Councillor Ingle. Are you voting now?
Actually, I clicked my hand up. I voted in favor of that.
Okay, thank you.
As soon as I click my hand, I jump somewhere. I don't know where I go.
All right, so
I'm going to just raise my hand because this other way is I'm losing myself.
It is quite difficult, isn't it? So how about we vote with our hands, and if we want to talk, we put our hand up in the participant box. How's that? So that will make it easier. And growing pains, I apologize. So that has worked out just fine. So I need a second motion then to adopt those fees to be brought back with the change to the fixed fee to 1865, but to have those brought back in the bylaw. Councillor Windsor.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'll make that motion to commit these, the adjusted numbers to the water wastewater bylaw.
Okay. And bring it back, I guess, when the bylaw, for the third reading of the bylaw, I believe. All right, is there any discussion on that? Right, I will call the vote. You can put your hands up in your screen. That's carried. Thanks, everyone. Hey, we didn't save the best for last. The best to second, the discussion on the operating budget. So I will. I think there. Again, discussion. There are lots of discussions and considerations in there. So I will ask for Amanda, or I'm sorry, Ethan, did you have any comments to make on this? And then you can defer certainly to your staff.
No, we've tried we presented it with all the most recent adjustments made at the last meeting. It's still in draft form. It's proposed for council's consideration. We've included a bunch of information for them to also consider. The other thing is we've also included a list of if there's additional revisions that council wants to make with the budget. We've included 3 areas that they can make additional revisions based on level of service if they want to reduce the level of service in any of those components on their council initiatives, or operational level of service, or even with regards to our reserve transfers. Those are all listed there as well. And we've also sent out to council a list of all the current reserve levels, the current balances on all the reserves, to also assist with that as well. So we've tried to give multiple options for council to consider and to wrestle with as they make these decisions.
All right. Can you, I think it'll be helpful to me, but when we're looking at that page that says 2021 operating budget levels of service, there's 2 items in there still that were to be rescinded, the $5,000 and $4,000. And is that, you know what I'm referring to? It's on page 16, I think, 16 of the agenda. So do you want to can someone answer that?
Sure. Yeah, and I can speak to that. So those are just listed there. Again, one of the things that's been referred to the Policy and Governance Committee is the new sponsorship, or not sponsorship, sorry, the new community support funding program. They're working on a framework for that new program, and that has some funds allocated from last year's surplus. There are 2 existing programs, the facility discount program as well as the community sponsorship program, and combined they have $9,000. So those they're still currently in place, though I know council's been having discussions about their types of grant funding mechanisms, and so we have those listed there just as additional options if as part of the level of service discussion, if council wants to find additional ways that they can find some savings.
But they're absorbed into that 30. Am I right in interpreting that? Like we were not going to use that 9 anymore. It was going to be incorporated. And then Councilor Windsor, after that's answered. Amanda, go, Ethan or Amanda?
Yeah, I'll defer to Amanda to speak to that.
Yes. So to answer Mayor Hunter's question, the 9,000 is already incorporated into if you look at the changes on page 17 of the agenda, it's kind of by what the type of change is. And in the yellow, we start with the 2021 budget first draft, and then we get to the second draft. And in that, the 6th column is the PEC committee recommendations. So the 9,000's accounted for in there. It adds up to 11,750, but that's a combination of the 9,000 that was reduced, and then professional development of 7,750 that was reduced, and then adding $5,000 of fireworks. So the 9,000 is already taken out of the council.
Okay, I just didn't see that.
Yeah.
Okay, and are there? I do want to refer to this page. If there's other questions, please put your hand up. Because I'm just not Councillor Baswick. And then Councillor Moore and Councillor Windsor.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. The question I had is, I'm wondering here, we're talking about effectively affecting whoever the new council is coming in, because this says what we're doing is we're planning for 2022 to 2027. So that doesn't even come under our effective term of office here. So is it reasonable to project and accept this on behalf of an incoming council who has probably no awareness of what we're doing here? Shouldn't this be left up to them to decide in the new year or whenever they take office? I don't understand why we're doing this. It doesn't compute with me, but I could be all wet.
So Ethan, do you want to explain the multi-year planning?
Yeah, I'll defer to Amanda on that.
Okay.
Actually, my understanding is, I believe you're on the wrong item, Councillor Baswick.
Okay.
Are you speaking to the multi-year policing financial plan? I believe was his question. So,
Yes, I guess I am. It should have been 7.2. Well, it says 7.2 on my page here.
that was
Yeah, we're on 7.1 in the old agenda that was distributed on Friday.
Yeah, it says 7.2 is the operating budget, but on my document, 7.2 is the Didsbury RCMP detachment multi-year plan.
Okay, so you can hold that question for that next agenda item.
Okay.
Yeah, if you go up a few pages, Councillor Baswick.
I understand. We got the 7.1 because I had Philbert dropped it off, but I guess I'm looking at the wrong sheet. No problem.
Okay, so we had Councillor Moore and then Councillor Windsor.
Yes, I can unmute myself. I guess this sort of goes against the increased pressure all the time to, as if lowered taxes are some kind of sacred cow that we're aiming at. I don't like the idea of reducing taxes further since we are already the second stingiest within 74 of our peer municipalities. And I'm concerned about the pressure that that puts on our services and our staff. And so as far as trying to always get it down by another $11 or something for each person, I think that I will stand to say that as long as my taxes don't go up, I certainly don't expect them to go down. And I don't want to become the absolute stingiest within our peer group. So just in a principled way, I'm hoping that our levels of service in some areas go up a little bit. And I wouldn't mind paying the same as last year.
Thank you. Councillor Windsor.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'll get rid of my hand here. I have a couple of questions, but I'll start with the levels of service on page 19 as well. And Roman numeral 7, I'm wondering what the 50,000 for the curling club is.
Ethan?
Yeah, and I'll defer to Amanda on that.
so what that was is our very high level estimate of we were just trying to give an example of a level of service, and that would be closing down that club. And so we expect there still would be a cost to it because the building still existed, but yeah, that was just an example of a level of service that we could provide. Or not provide, sorry.
And you said you had a couple questions, Councillor Windsor, and I haven't seen.
If I may do a follow-up to that one, are we expecting the curling club to fold?
No.
No, we're just, it was provided as an example of something that could be, if you remove it completely as an option for them to function, then there's potential savings. We're not even recommending you do that. That's just included as one of the many different types of service levels that could be adjusted. We're certainly not recommending that you do that.
Where's the press? Don't start a rumor. Like, that's not true. It's not true. It wasn't said.
I'm sorry, and I have to follow that up again because maybe I'm daft. I'm not sure. I'm just not getting it. Is that all the other things on here I see are budget items that have been put in the budget and actually have a function associated with them, except for that one. And I'm wondering if we're not going to be allocating $50,000 to the curling club, why do we have it in here as a service level?
I think that, can I just give my interpretation of this, and then I'll, Ethan and Amanda, this item B, or things that council could look at to reduce funding, is what these examples are. So if we chose to reduce our repair and maintenance, our road rehab program from 200 down to 150, we could save 50. That's what you're suggesting here, that these are some options where we could look. And what I see is it's 551,280, I believe, that would bring us back to last year. And so the 51,280 would come from either these items or from other suggestions. And I know I put some suggestions forward that were not received. So I don't see anybody with their hand up to ask for any of those items to be reduced. I do wonder about the public and political events. Sorry, Councillor Windsor, I'm going to let Ethan and Amanda answer that for you as well. Am I right interpreting that?
Yeah, that was an excellent explanation, Mayor.
Okay. So is there anyone, so item 5, public and political events and communications, so 50,000 there. What would that entail?
So that, and again, that's an estimate of if we were to completely reduce the administrative support to in strengthening our communications, our facilitating council events, supporting council in their public role at events or at different kinds of things. So it would be pulling back that administrative support of council, and basically, again, we're not at all recommending this, but just giving an idea of a type of level of service that is there. Things like cleaning up the website, getting the information there, making that accurate, making sure that our information that's released publicly is well edited and proper, things like that. So that's a type of level of service.
Right. I'm just looking at our information. Most people like to get their information through the town hall news. So is that something worthy of considering? And I personally believe that we can get to 0. And that's me, and I will vote on 0. And as to Councillor Moore's comments, I respect that. I think we need to prepare the budget through a COVID lens and in these uncertain times to make sure that we're doing what we need to do where we can. And we did get a $536,000 grant from the provincial government. And we had 148,000 surplus last year. So finding 51,000 to me isn't hard for I know snow clearing isn't going to be it. And I don't know that anybody else is willing to consider other items. So that's my statement on it. And I do believe that we can get down there, but it would be at the will of council and finding that one item. And if support for council is going to be affected, we can do those things too through town hall news and notes and the way that our people like to receive it. They don't like the radio, apparently, according to that survey. So maybe we take off our radio ads. I don't know. So we are a lean municipality too, Councillor Moore, and having said that, I think raising taxes in a pandemic year, revenue from taxes, isn't the way I'll vote, but I certainly do respect all the work that everybody's done on this. And if we challenge one more time to bring back at 0, and that was defeated last week to show what a 0% would mean to our service level, I think we took away that opportunity. So are there other questions? Is everybody prepared? Oh, Ethan, go ahead. And then Councillor Windsor.
Thank you, Mayor. And I just want to give a bit of I will just explain a little bit. The communications is more than just the communications. It's also that communication support for ensuring that, a review of information that's released. It's that administrative support. It's more comprehensive than that. And there would definitely, council, I think, would notice a difference if that was reduced. That's what I certainly wouldn't recommend. I will say if, again, and this this is for whatever level of service council wants to get at, whatever level they want that and how that impacts the budget is a council decision. I will just say, if I would recommend so last year's budget, as you can see, and and I do want to touch on this just briefly, we've shown there, this council since the start of the term has acted to cut their revenue or their tax revenues year after year, as you can see by the graph there, and so we are a very lean administrative operation with a very lean kind of level of service. And then last year, due to COVID, we were one of the only communities that made a major reduction, and we made a major reduction and brought down that budget. It was meant to be a very special, unique year for that budget. Now, so if you feel that this year is continuing to be a very special kind of standalone, special, unique year, because again, part of special, unique things is they can sometimes be taken later as a precedent. But if you're wanting to do that, my recommendation is, because our administrative operations are already so lean, again, as the study has shown, we're the second leanest in the land in all of Alberta, and for our category. And so we don't feel that we don't really have any more room without making major changes to how the services are provided. So what I would recommend is, if it's viewed as a very special, unique year, then that you look at reducing some of the reserve transfers. And the analogy would be, if a family's having troubles putting food on the table, maybe that's not the year to put a large chunk of money into their savings account. So again, that's for council to wrestle with, but that would be my administrative recommendation, that if it's felt that this is a very special, unique year that needs to have a largely reduced budget again, then that you would find an area of the reserve transfers to lessen, to meet that, so that you don't impact our level of service.
Thanks, Ethan. Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I have a question with regard to the tables on page 15 through, I think it's 19. And I'm looking specifically at the third column over in yellow. That's the credit card admin fee. And I see that there is an indication of a revenue of $6,000 or $2,000, pardon me. And then that's on page 15. And if I skip down to page 17, where I get to the expenses, and I look at that same column, I see a reduction of $6,000. Now, if I recall correctly, this was a budget item of $10,000, and it should be a net zero. So shouldn't that return or that reduction be $8,000 in that credit card line on their expense column on page 17?
And I'll defer to Amanda on that.
Thanks, Ethan. So what we found, we found was last year's actuals was about that $10,000 mark. But what was included in the budget is being reversed here. So we're expecting now about $2,000 in income, which is our normal when we apply the fee. And then we reduce the cost by $6,000, which is what we anticipated to be the cost related to fees. So we're seeing more usage online with our eGov services, so that, and over the phone, like payments as well. So we still do have quite a bit of fees in there, but what was calculated for this credit card item was $6,000 in costs.
So may I do a follow-up on that, Mayor Hunter, please?
Go ahead.
So the amount that was actually in the budget, in the budget that was proposed, the draft budget, was actually $8,000 for the credit card amount then?
The total revenue and expense, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Can I further to Ethan, did you have your hand up?
Sorry, I brought it down.
Okay. No, keep the microphones off there, yeah. So further to your comment, Ethan, and I am stuck on 0%, and I appreciate those recommendations. And I know the communications marketing, it went up by 84,000 this year in the budget. So we were at 97,850. You know, that came down to 50, so there's 3450 there. And then the reserves, that'll leave a minor chunk of reserve that would be adjusted, and we would reach 0. And I know, Arlene, I get that. I just disagree that it's the right year to move forward with an increase. And that's, you know, it will go to a vote. If anybody's prepared to make a 0% increase or a 1.1% increase, you're welcome to do that as well. But if we could consider that communications maybe not taking a 50,000, but a 25 or 30, and then the rest of that'll be 21 to 280 be distributed throughout the reserves, and we'd be down to 0 again. And I think with assessments again as low as they are, you know, there is going to be some impact no matter what. But if we can do everything we can to mitigate that, I'd be happy with that. But it's certainly a vote of 7. Councillor Moore.
Yes, I don't know if anybody else is having a problem with page numbers, but when other councillors are talking about page 17, that to me is the beginning of the package, which is a printed one from the town. That's the beginning of the Didsbury RCMP detachment.
Yeah, you're right. We will have adjusted.
This one, I only get to 16, and the page numbers being referred to are not at all what I have in my package. And so I guess maybe a different way of referring to it would really help. And since you also talked about your 0 budget again, I'm going to just say that I believe that our administration did an incredible job of finding a way to save money during last year COVID year, and I don't want to punish them by cutting them even further the next year. I think if we're looking at other years, that we should be looking back at 2019 rather than at a year when they did sacrifices to get us there. And we should be looking at the municipalities around us and look at how much more we provide with the pool and yet still are less than they. And I think that's something that has to be accounted for. And I know Councillor Crothers has got his hand up rather than the other hand.
Yes, he does. Councillor Crothers.
I couldn't agree more with Councillor Moore. I'm really confused as to which page is which and what we're doing.
Yeah.
I can't find some of the pages that we're talking about. I'd like to, before I vote, know which page I'm voting on.
Okay.
I don't know whether to support you or not. I'd like to, but I don't know. I need facts.
Okay, so if we go to item so we start on page 9 of the package we got.
Of the agenda?
Since we're past utility rates now, we can go back to the old agenda. And we're on page 9 is the operating budget. And then you can find those pages from there, and all our pages will be right going forward from that, because if we're all looking at the package we got Friday, that will jive. And I know it was updated based on the utility rates today, and that's fine, but we're caught up now. We have been past that. And Councillor Pogmiller, you have a comment.
Yes, thank you. I have to concur with Councillor Moore and Councillor Crothers as far as our agenda package goes. To be very honest with you, I'm somewhat disappointed because it's more than frustrating to follow this time around. I'm missing pages, to be very honest with you. And so I'm running by the seat of my pants on some of this stuff. As far as the budget goes, I would like to caution everyone from my past experience, and maybe it's not worth anything here, but I think it is. We have to be very diligent in how we look at our budgeting going forward too. We can't just simply stay the same or cut all the time. And I've experienced a situation where we've done that only to really have to penalize people. So, you know, I would love to see it stay the same myself. I understand it's a pandemic year. However, I think we need to take a good look at least 1% on doing that, because then 2 years from now, we don't need to go 4% or 5%. And mark my words, I think that's exactly what will happen. And I've learned that from experience. So I would caution everybody to give it some thought as to how we go forward. I know that it may not be the most popular thing, but I think it is a prudent thing to make sure that we take a look at how we do this going forward, because we can't forever keep cutting. Other expenses do not cut. So I think we need to take a real good look at that. That's what I have to say. And as far as the other problem I have is tonight, for some reason or other, my internet is very sporadic. The mayor was talking about some budget numbers. The budget numbers I didn't get, and then I just got the next conversation. So some of the, I'm having difficulty tonight on this Zoom thing.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, could I ask a favor, please? Would it be possible to take these budget papers and have them recollated and stapled in the proper order, and have somebody hand deliver them to our houses over the next day or two, and even set up a conference call? So when we're talking about page 17, it really is page 17. Please.
And it didn't help that I referred you back to page 9, because we're right on track again. We really are. And Ethan, I think you can confirm we're on track on page 9 on the operating budget. We've gone past the utility budget, which was the addition that would have, and I just want to, if I can, to all the councillor comments.
Madam Mayor, here's the operating budget. There is no page number.
Oh, you have no number on your page. I see. See, I do. So
yeah.
Okay. It's not right below May 11th, 2021 in little wee numbers.
They're partially split. Draft for council discussion April 27, draft for council discussion May 11, and then I have enough number 14 on it.
Yeah, that'd be page 14. But I don't, that's, if people are having a confusing experience, I'm just going to ask one last time. I agree with the comments that administration has done a great job. The two adjustments I'm suggesting wouldn't affect administration. Ethan made it clear that that would affect, videos and communications and whatnot. From if we took 34,000 out of the communications and adjusted some of the reserves to reach the 51,280. I believe future years, I think every council is in that same spot. Future years are gonna be looked at, but we also have a lot of development, and I think that's positive for our community right now. So, looking ahead, assessments, we have faith that they're going to go up, and that more development continues as we see going on around our town. So all those are very valuable comments, and I'm suggesting something that won't affect our administrative service level. That rather would affect, we have over 5 million in reserves, which I think is commendable. There's also something to be said for having that many reserves and what's on the plan. So if we could then accept this as information until everybody gets the right page numbers, is everybody, you can put your hand up if you'd like to see that happen, or we can carry on with the discussion right now. So if we'd like to see, it's only fair that everybody has the packages, and we would have to reconvene, I think, is the issue, but it is it's an important item. And if someone would make a motion to ask administration to look at that communications and reserve and bring it back at the same time, that would give us another option. Councillor Cuthers?
Madam Mayor, I would move that administration take a look at these pages we're looking at tonight and see if they can get them cleaned up in an orderly fashion that we can make an intelligent voting decision. Thank you.
Okay. I will call the vote on that. All in favor? I hate to see anybody at a what's the word? Yes, I voted for that, so that's carried.
Thank you.
And can we have the budget? Does anybody agree that we could have the budget come back with those two adjustments that don't affect administrative service if we'd like to make the motion? Councillor Crothers?
Yes.
Well,
Oh, you want me to move that?
Yeah, would somebody, if someone would like to, I can't.
I move that administration bring the budget back with those two items.
Okay, and Ethan, you had a comment. Thanks, Councillor Crothers.
Well, I just want to clarify that you will notice you'll notice on, I mean, there's a lot of different aspects to communications that we put in there. So anytime there's so what you'll notice is there won't be administration being able to set up events for council or help council with events, or, I mean, you will notice an impact. It'll be more so council will notice this impact. Things like, well, that support level, and again, is already so lean that things like quirky things like these pages, that's an example of the kind of things that you will notice. Messages, monthly messages, wanting review of things, wanting review of letters, wanting review of things that council are doing, where it's a council event, welcoming a new film crew, or things like that. There's all kinds of aspects that administration does to facilitate council events. So you will notice that change. So I just want to clarify that council will notice the impact of that lessened.
It's just here as an option, so
well, again, like some of them, we're just showing the different levels of service, but they're not ones that we're saying that we're recommending that you do. But if you choose to do it, I'm just saying that any one of those things on the list, if you activate that, you will notice an impact. None of them will there not be an impact to it. That's just what I want to say.
So let me just then suggest a friendly amendment to bring that back as one option, and to bring back the reserve adjustments at that as another option. And then we have those three options. And I do respect all the comments here. I'm trying not to impact administration, and I don't think we have, and those things won't impact administration. So could I make that friendly amendment, Councillor Crothers?
For amendment.
To bring those three scenarios. So one with adjustment reserves, one with communication and reserves. So the communications would be 34.5, plus the reserve would add up to 51,280, and then staying at 1.1%. So just, if we're coming back for the budget discussion,
let's bring it back.
We'll all be there with all the pages, and then we will have all that in front of us to review and vote on at the next meeting.
If Luana has caught all that, I agree. Absolutely.
All right.
Yes, that was my question, was if all of these are in one motion.
Well, Councillor Crothers was a separate motion, obviously, to compile the pages and deliver them again.
Thank you.
And then this one is to bring those budget revisions, and then still keep the 1.1 and the 0 with reserves adjusted, and scenario 2 with communications and reserves adjusted. All right, so there is a motion on the table, and we are voting with our hands. Councillor Windsor has a comment, I see.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I was going to make ask for a friendly amendment to that as well, and that is that it seems to me that the curling club item Roman numeral 7 under the level of service is at $50,000, And I think that's a speculation. And I think that I would like that to be included in having a look at that. I think it's an speculation as to what the amount is. I don't think that that's a real number in our budget. So I would like, with Councillor Crothers' approval, I would like to include that in that examination.
I would certainly agree that the curling club shouldn't even be a component of this. We're going to scare the hell out of an awful lot of people when we don't intend to. I know that really caught me and had turned out we're just using it as an example. We should be very careful of the types of examples we're using.
You don't have to accept the friendly amendment or an amendment. Would you like to accept that amendment or not?
I'll accept the amendment.
Okay. Ethan?
Well, and just so you know, because we're not going to be able to expend a whole bunch of administrative time on this, so it'll be a very light. Again, that was just a very ballpark. If we were to completely close down the curling rink and completely shut it down and turn off everything and turn off, like, it was just, again, it was more to represent a type of level of service. If that's something you genuinely want to consider doing to the curling club and take away their option to even run next winter, we can explore that, but it's going to be a very high level, very light estimate. It's not going to be, it's not, unless you want to expend the administrative resources to, but
can I suggest, Ethan, that be a separate motion if Councillor Windsor would like to make it? Because, I mean, it changes the dynamics of a lot.
Yes, it does.
The curling rink conversation, because if we vote, we have something on the table that doesn't affect administration or our service to our community. And well, if Councillor, I don't want to belabor this, so if Councillor Crothers will let it stand with the original motion, and then Councillor Windsor can make that second motion if he feels it important.
You have my support.
Okay, your motion. So I will call the vote on that. Councillor Windsor?
Can we have a recorded vote, please, Mayor Hunter?
Yes, we can. Okay, all in favor of bringing back those two scenarios for a 0% increase? I'll call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, that's defeated. Okay, so Ethan, when will we set the date for that meeting to have everybody's packages delivered?
That would be at the discretion of council if they want to.
Well, you'll have to. I guess we're asking council to convene again.
Yeah, if council chooses to proceed with convening again and doing that, we can have those packages ready at council's pleasure on that. Yeah. We'll just read. I mean, we have it all ready, and the documents are all ready. They're just kind of. I understand the misunderstanding, so we'll repackage it in a more clear way.
Okay, I guess I'll decide on a special council meeting date and send out the information. Okay, we'll move on from item 7.1. And we'll go, if I can find my agenda page. All this discussion. We'll go to 7.3, the Disbury RCMP Detachment Multi-Year Capital Plan. I think it's a simple motion for someone to make. Councillor Moore.
I move that council accept the Disbury RCMP Detachment Multi-Year Financial Plan for April 1st, 2022 to March 31st, 2027 in principle.
All right, I think this is now when Councillor Baswick had a question. And then Councillor Crothers.
Yes, I did. Thank you, Mayor. I'm just wondering how we can do this for an incoming council. You know, we're